The opinions of our panelists do not necessarily reflect those of Bang Zoom Entertainment or Revision3.com. This episode of AnimeTV is brought to you by GameFly and GoDaddy.com.
This is ladies' night and the feeling is right. Oh, this is ladies' night. Oh, what a night. Hey, I'm Jonathan Mesa.
I'm Christina V. This is an all-ladies episode of AnimeTV, except for
me.
Why are you here?
Well, you know, I gotta hold it down for the men. We gotta represent.
I guess so.
But I got a cool shirt.
You can live.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. Okay, we were reviewing Linebarrels of Iron.
And also we have Mila Yamamoto segment, Domo, Arigato, Miss Yamamoto.
Yeah, fun episode today. All ladies. AnimeTV,
go!
AnimeTV, go!
Welcome to another fabulous Hima segment with all women. And Hima means
women.
Great. Hima just means free time.
Our panelists are going to tell you what they've been reading, watching, playing, anything they've been doing last week. They're going to let you know about it.
Absolutely.
So what have you been doing?
Oh, I've been playing Resident Evil with my roommate a lot. Because we have the game Mercenaries is on Resident Evil. It's like a special feature when you beat the game. And you basically just kill zombies endlessly.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's very manly.
Let's go.
All right, thanks guys. So we're gonna go straight into our Hima section. I don't know. Jenny, what you been doing lately?
All right, picked up the DS again.
Of course.
This time I'm playing lawyer, prosecutor to be exact. This time it is Ace Attorney Investigations. Miles Edgeworth, if you guys are at all familiar with the quote-unquote Phoenix Wright series of games. Where
Objection!
Objection! Objection!
Or more like, objection! Yeah. Don't you do that? You do that under the DS, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so if you guys are at all familiar with that series of things, you're playing a defense attorney and all these people are getting framed for murder. Miraculously, none of them actually are guilty, but I don't know. This time around, you actually play as his rival and childhood friend, Miles Edgeworth, who's a prosecutor. And the gameplay's a little bit different. Instead of going around in first person looking at stuff, you can actually see him walking around on the screen, use the DS, and you use little logic things to put everything together. You're not in a courtroom going, objection, take that, or any of that stuff. But it's still pretty good.
Cool.
So, I definitely am loving it right now.
What you doing, Laura?
Well, I'm so excited to talk about this anime, but I'm also really excited that we got rid of the boys.
Oh yeah, you might have noticed that it's all the girls right now. Yeah.
That's right.
Lady estrogen.
The ladies are bringing it home.
Yeah, let's nix the estrogen part.
I like this. All right, well, I've mentioned this anime, I think, at least 2 times, at least once, and I figured I should explain what it actually is and talk to people about it, because if you need to watch this anime. It's Berserk. Berserk is one of the greatest animes ever made. It started off as a manga, and the anime came out in 1997. So it was a manga first, and then the anime came out in 97. So it's older, and the anime you can tell, but it doesn't matter at all. This anime will stand the test of time forever.
What's the story about?
It's that good. Well, it's about this guy named, in Japanese they say Gato. But in English, they call him Guts. And this is very important. You will rarely hear me say this. Berserk is an anime that is better in English.
Oh, interesting.
It's better in English.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Oh!
No.
She's encroaching on your Hima time there.
This is an anime that people can watch who have not really gotten into anime yet, and people out there who don't like a lot of this, like in Fooly Cooly, there's a lot of that silly Japanese-y gimmicky stuff that Americans or people who aren't Japanese might not understand or get. This doesn't have any of that. It's drama, it's gritty, it's bloody. But people who poo-poo the ending and who get pissed off at the ending of the anime, don't worry. The manga's still going. I'm reading the manga as we speak. It's coming out. It's still, and the manga is crazy. Like, watch this anime, watch these 25 episodes. do yourself a favor. It is truly one of the greatest animes you'll ever see.
Cool. Going from Berserk to Tracy, what you been doing? Anything bloody or gory, or not so much, or what you been doing?
Not so much.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Well, I've been doing a couple things. First of all, I busted out my Nana soundtrack.
Oh, very good soundtrack.
First,
yeah.
from the first live action movie, so
Yeah.
not the anime. But yeah, I've had the CD for a couple years now, and I kind of just forgot about it and put it away. And then I was on my treadmill this week, and I was going through my iPod looking for something to listen to, and I was like, oh, Nana, and I freaking love that CD. It's so awesome. And
What's your favorite song off of it? Do you
got
personally
a
like?
couple.
Do you personally like the
Mika
the
or-
Stones, or which one do you want? Like,
I love them both. Endless
'Cause
Story
there's-
will always be like
yeah.
my favorite song, but like I love Mika Nakashima. So Yuna Ito and Mika Nakashima is pretty much the whole CD. But I love Glamorous Sky. And then what's the other one? My Medicine.
My Medicine,
I mean,
all
I
in
love
English,
everything
yeah.
on the CD. But yeah, but it's a great CD. I've been listening to that. So check that out if you guys love J-pop, J-rock. And then I've also been reading Absolute Boyfriend. And I can't. Okay, how?
I want an absolute boyfriend.
Do you love it?
I like the sound of this.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'll read it.
So
of course, Laura would love the sound of Absolute Boyfriend.
I'm a
Yes.
girly girl, and this is what I love. And
Yay.
I'm gonna butcher her name. Watas. What? How do you pronounce it?
I don't know.
Watas.
Probably Watase.
How do you spell
Watase.
Watase, yeah.
Y-U-U, and then W-A-T-A-S.
You always pronounce the E, yeah. Watase. Yeah.
Watase. Yeah. Anyway, she's my favorite. How do you say it? Mangaka.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just love her. I love everything she does, and Absolute Boyfriend is one that I've been reading lately.
Do you know some other titles from her, or?
Yeah, Fushigi Yugi, Saris, Alice 19th.
Oh, she did. Yes, one of my favorite series. What the hell is it? I just completely blanked.
The sequel
Manga?
to Fushigi Yugi?
Not Fushigi Yugi. The one after that one. Shoot. Why
In the
have I
same
forgotten?
series? Like
no,
the
no,
next
not
one
in the
up?
same series. She's
Oh.
she wrote a completely different
Not
series.
Saris. Is it
Oh,
Saris?
yes.
Yeah.
Seras.
Celestial Legend.
Yes,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what
I
it is.
love Saris.
In,
yeah,
in
and anime
Japanese,
too.
it's Seras, yeah. It's one of my favorite
Yeah,
mangas, yeah.
I
but
love
I
her.
don't like
She
her
is, like,
drawings
a
though.
goddess.
But I love it.
Really? Oh, and
It's
see,
so,
I
and
love
her,
the art.
Her
I think it's
girls
beautiful.
are always like heart-shaped faces
I know.
and
Well,
like
see, her boys are beautiful. Like her
yes,
girls are cute,
that's true.
and
That's
her
true.
boys are beautiful.
A little
And
too like femme, but yeah, definitely
they got
on
like
the pretty side, yeah.
like gacked kind of thing going on, where
Oh
it's
my
like
goodness.
you almost,
Oh my
you
goodness.
like can't quite tell sometimes, and like she puts them in drag every once in a while, and it's
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah.
And, yeah. So Absolute Boyfriend, check it out if you love that kind of stuff. It's super cute, and it's got this like love triangle between this.
There's
little
always a love
girl-
triangle
I know,
in her
right?
stories, yeah.
But it's a cute one. It's kind of got like a Chobits vibe to it because it's a guy, not a Persicom, but it's like a guy who's not necessarily human. He's like AI style. He's like a
Cool.
robot, but he takes on human emotions.
I
And,
like the sound of
yeah,
it.
so it's great. I love it. And they made a live action series out of it, I guess. And I haven't checked it out yet, but I'm dying to.
Like
so.
GTO, then they did a live
I
action version
guess,
of that.
yeah.
Give me that shh.
It's so funny.
GTO, gosh.
It's like the most popular show in Japan ever, isn't it? Wasn't it the live action?
Yeah, I
version
guess
of
it was
GTO?
really popular. It was popular with the mainstream too, which is
Yeah.
unusual. And I think that's one of the ones that's sort of the trend of bringing more of the anime and manga into the mainstream, because for a while there it was like, whoa, like girls were like, yeah, I read Nana, and that was about it. They didn't really read anything else. But yeah,
And they made Death Note too into a live action
Yeah.
show.
I want to see
yeah,
that. I haven't
definitely.
Seen it yet.
So there's a lot of property that's coming out. It's funny because speaking of properties that are coming out finally in the U.S., kind of in a good way, what I've been watching is Case Closed, or Meitaten Konan, which is one of my favorite animes and mangas, actually, of all time. Yeah, with a little kid.
yeah.
It's funny because it's one of the series that keeps going for me, so I kind of read it or watch it in spurts, and then I won't have anything to do with it for like a year and a half. That's what I do, and then like it'll pile up somewhere, and then I'll be like, okay, it's about time I read like 10 books at a time or
I'm
something.
totally like that.
Yeah, and so
He changes from kid to grown up, right?
Actually, no. He's the story is basically he's a grown up in the beginning, and then he stumbles on this case because he's one of those guys where literally like, oh no, we can't solve this closed door case. What do we do? Let's call this guy, and he would come in and he'd be like all suave and be like, I can see all these things, and this is the guy, he's the murderer or whatever, And then what happens is that he kind of stumbles on something in the very beginning of the series, and he gets killed by the organization. And what happens is that the medicine that he takes can either kill you, or there's like a weird side effect where it basically reverts your body back to a child. And so he becomes this child, and he tries to follow these men in black coats, basically, to find out who changed him, because he wants to change back. And there's this kind of, he has this love for his, you know, his longtime, you know, friend, and but then she's older now, and he's still like a, you know,
she, like, babysits
yeah, she babysits him, and he's always, you know, trying to solve all these cases and stuff, and he always has to, you know, get his best friend's father to fall asleep. So he's this little gun thing that he shoots, like yeah, it's like a tranquilizer, and the guy like always falls into a chair and into the weirdest positions and be like, ah, and then like he copies the voice, and suddenly he solves the case. The guy who's sleeping in the chair solves the case. It's kind of, but it's actually the little Conan, the boy.
So he has all like the intelligence of an adult. He's just in a child's body.
It's a cute show.
It's a really good show. I think what happened in America is that it's weird because the level of sensitivity is different, I think. And in Japan, if you can have a show on primetime for children where you show like, how did the head get decapitated, you know, kind of thing, and it's fine, whereas here it kind of, you know, isn't appropriate for children, and so they couldn't find a market for it, I think. And it just kind of didn't fly the way it should have, because in Japan it's a huge series. I mean, I think it's Golden Week or something that they, which is a holiday in Japan. Golden Week, yeah, it's in May. It's when everybody takes their vacation. There's like a whole like 7 to 10 days that you can just go and party.
That's when I watch those high school animes. That's what Golden
That's what Golden Week means, yeah.
What the heck's Golden Week?
And it's funny because, you know, it's like every Golden Week, I think they come out with a movie, and it just does like amazingly well. And it's critically acclaimed. Every single soundtrack thing, like music that they use, the pop songs, you know, the J-pop songs or the J-rock songs, they go to the top 10, if not number 1 on the charts. So it's an amazing, you know, installment that just unfortunately has not taken off yet here in the States. So, well, hopefully it'll. So we've all been watching and listening to different things.
And playing.
Can't forget the DS games. So that's about it for Hima time.
Coming up next, it's the return of Mila Yamamoto's segment, Domo Arigato, Miss Yamamoto. She's going to teach you more about Japan and Japanese culture, so come back.
GameFly is the largest online video game rental service, offering over 6,000 new and classic titles across all consoles and handhelds. With plans starting at $15.95 a month, GameFly members can rent 1 to 4 games at a time and keep them for as long as they like. Anime fans get a 2-week free trial when they go to www.gamefly.com/anime. Some restrictions apply. Check the GameFly website for details.
Now it's time for Mila Yamamoto's segment, Domo Arigato, Miss Yamamoto. She's going to teach us more about Japan and Japanese culture, so get ready.
Alrighty folks, welcome to another segment of Domo Arigato, Miss Yamamoto. So last time I asked you guys to write to me through the Revision 3 forums, but I kind of realized that that's taking a lot of my time and stuff, and so I do have a Twitter account. It's twitter.com/MilaYamamoto. You can actually chat with me on Twitter a lot easier than through the Revision 3 forums. So I've already gotten some great questions from my followers at Twitter, so why don't we get into it? Alrighty, so the first question is from the Riddler 2K. Thanks for writing me, by the way. And the Riddler 2K asks, what is the etiquette for boarding and deboarding the packed subway? The proper etiquette at any subway or train station is that a lot of times if you walk into a train station, you'll obviously see the yellow line, which you don't want to pass because, you know, the wind force and everything can actually toss you in front of the train if you're not careful. So you want to stand behind that yellow line, and then along that yellow line there's usually little lines that are kind of perpendicular to that big fat yellow line, and it shows you roughly where the train will stop. Train systems in Japan are really great. They usually arrive on time. They're very, I guess the word is polite in a sense when they're pulling in and pulling out. So it's not like the New York subway system where you get yanked out of your chair. But anyways, so the train comes to a gliding stop. There's usually the little lines that shows you where the doors are going to be. And the proper etiquette is that you usually wait, especially during rush hour and stuff, you wait behind or in between those two lines. And so there's rows of people. And then as soon as the train comes to a stop and the door starts to open, the proper etiquette is to kind of let's say you're standing like this, it's kind of to go beyond the double lines. So you kind of create a big opening. And then the people who are inside the train can stream out. And as soon as the streaming people come out and there's enough space for you to go in, you basically go in from the sides into the train. So there's this efficient kind of ebb and flow that happens. That's the proper way to get on and off a train in Japan. And if you're standing near the door when you're going to exit a train and this is not your exit, let's say you're not going to exit at Shibuya, the best thing to do is to step aside, because there are going to be people who want to debark. So you just want to step aside, let them do that, and then you can go back to your little spot next to the door, which is usually a little bit more cozy and out of the way from prying hands. I've had that happen a couple times. It's not fun, trust me. So the next question comes from Dark Bulb. You have the cutest avatar, by the way, Dark Bulb. And Dark Bulb asks, are Western comics like DC and Marvel popular in Japan? And if so, what are they named? Alrighty, so as many of you might know or might not know, anime and manga are relatively new to the United States, at least into the popular culture mainstream area. It's relatively new. People who have known it forever, but you know, it's really coming into the forefront now. And I guess it's the kind of the same way with either Superman or Spider-Man or even X-Men and stuff like that for Japan. You have to understand that there's a huge culture behind anime and manga in Japan, and there's so much of it that basically any title from America would be fighting upstream like salmon or something, you know, in this huge torrent of information in Japan. So there's not a whole lot of it. It's not in the national consciousness like it would be here. Everybody knows about Superman and they know some sort of story about it because there's so many like movies and cartoons and comics that are out. Whereas in Japan, many people do know it, obviously, they do know the titles, but in the mainstream, it's not as well known, but it's not something that you grow up with as a child. That would be more like Doraemon or Sazae-san. Those animes are basically things that you would grow up with as a child, and those are things that people know on a mainstream national consciousness level. So when I lived there, a couple of years ago, I didn't really see anything about Superman or Spider-Man or any of those other DC and Marvel stuff. Alrighty, so that's it for this segment of Domo Arigato, Miss Yamamoto. I do have one question though offset from Justice Tang, aka KG Tang. He's wondering why I don't wear any more mini skirts. So I'll work on that, I guess, for this season. Anyways, you can contact me easily through Twitter at twitter.com/MileYamamoto. I tend to like the mini blogging better at 140 letters. It's just easier for me. So if you have any questions, be sure to ask me through Twitter, or you know, you can have a simple conversation with me too. It's just the easiest way for me. Plus, it's on my phone. So anyways, till next time, Johnny.
What happens when you give a sweet boy who's been picked on his entire life a lot of power? The result might not be what you think, so stick around for a review of Linebarrels of Iron coming up next.
Web hosting from GoDaddy.com includes 99.9% uptime, 24/7 support, and free access to Hosting Connection. The place to install over 30 free applications sure to help you get the most from your hosting plan and website. For 10% off your order, just punch in the code ATV8.
Koichi Hayase was a 14-year-old. He was killed and brought back to life and given a giant robot called the Line Barrel.
That's right, it's a 26-episode animation brought to you by
Funimation.
So,
here's the clip!
う夢の雫がこぼれても差し伸べたこの手受け取るぬくもりそこにある微笑み君が君でいるため命を添せようそして僕を守る勝利
Alrighty, guys. So this week we are reviewing Linebarrels of Iron, which is released by Funimation here in the United States. And the director is the guy who did Pokemon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll cover that later. And if you guys know anything about this anime, it's basically, you know, centered around a lot of mechs. Roy would have loved to have reviewed this anime. But the cool thing is that the mech design was done by the people who did Gundam Seed, which I liked. Sorry. I know it's the pop version of Gundam, but I really liked Gundam Seed.
There's so many Gundam versions.
That's true. It's been going on for decades.
Laura
has bit the bullet.
Yeah, and it's just your typical high school mech anime.
It's not even high school, it's junior high.
Junior high.
Well,
Sorry.
technically in America it would be
ninth
freshmen
grade.
in high school, yeah, but
They look
in
like
Japan
little
it's
high school students.
Yeah.
They look like they're 20, whatever.
It's your typical mech young people anime. I kept feeling like I've seen it before. Again, it's the same people who did all the Gundam. The animator, the character designer, is the same guy who did Scrido, or Scride, which we talked about season 1, and I liked Scride. He has a very simplistic style. It's not my favorite kind of animation style, but for some reason in this anime, it's just, I don't want to say it's worse than Scride because I ended up liking the characters of Scride, therefore I didn't mind the animation. But they have these sketchy things on their cheeks.
They do.
And
it's a little rough. It's weird.
The mechs look gorgeous. If you like mech anime, the mechs are gorgeous, and we were talking before how I think they spent way more time on the mechs than anything else in this show.
Did you notice the 3 different types of kind of the animation that was going on? They had like the weird map painting in the background, like they put in a photograph and then they like digitized it, and then they had like the regular 2D animation, and then they had the mech anime, which was almost computer generated. It was very interesting,
very,
like
fluid and
I mean, it wasn't done as well as some of their other, like Gonzo's other animes, but I do have to admit it was an interesting mix.
It was like, what's the Code Geass.
Yes,
Code Geass. Yeah, it reminded, because of the eye things, I was like, is this Code Geass or whatever? Which I'm not a fan of Code Geass or whatever, but yeah, I can't really stand that anime. But
okay.
But anyway, there wasn't really anything that original about the story. The main character, he wasn't even that likable. There were really likable characters, but they were all this. I loved his little sister. She was funny when she, like, brother, Nissan hentai, went through my underwear. The main character, he wasn't even that likable. He really, I felt like he was going to turn out like Light from Death Note, where he, a little bit before his friend died, I was like, oh no, he has this lust for power, and that's just like Light in Death Note, and he's going to start, you know, becoming bad and everything. But there were all the supporting characters I really liked, like Reiji, who was like a Colonel Mustang clone, but with glasses. He was in the suit, and he was great.
That's what I liked about it when the mech, you know, when they're fighting, is that they weren't in like, they weren't in uniform, they were in suits. Yeah, it was interesting. It was one of those things, yeah. What did you think, Tracy?
Overall, I liked it. It's not the type of anime that I'm normally like drawn to, but I liked it. I think that there's elements in this show that like guys and girls will really like. I don't know. I mean, it's funny because there are, you know, there's a lot of very serious stuff that goes on, and there's even some bloody stuff, and like, you know, in one episode in the beginning, you know, when a certain someone dies, I'm not going to say who, I don't know if I should spoil it or whatever, but
spoiler alert.
Well, yeah. Well,
spoiler
we'll have,
alert,
You can say, just say spoiler alert.
Okay, well, you know, his friend dies, and
I already said it. I think.
did you really? I think
Yeah.
Anyways, whatever. But so the point is he's holding like a dismembered body part, you know, and he's screaming in rage, and there's blood shooting everywhere. And then a couple episodes later, it's like this whole happy comedy routine, and the whole episode is, you know, and I don't mind it, like it worked. But yeah, I definitely think there's something for everyone, and I did enjoy it. And I'll say this too, I didn't finish the series yet, but I plan on it. So, you know, that's definitely, you know, saying something for me, because if I don't really, you know, it's... If
you don't give it a chance usually.
Right.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, so I definitely liked it, but I agree with you with the protagonist. He just... Koichi?
Yeah.
Right?
Koichi.
Yeah, he was not likable at all, and as he gained his power, you know, I mean, it's about, you know, this guy that was just bullied his whole life, and he's just like kind of the shrimp of a kid, and his friends have always had to, you know, stick up for him, and he just, his heart's desire is to protect the woman that he has a crush on, and or the girl, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't really get on board with him for quite a few episodes.
Yeah.
What about you, Jenny?
May I borrow the DVD?
Of course,
please?
you may borrow the DVD.
May I say in big letters here, it says, everything you never wanted in a hero. I mean, I know that you guys are touching upon the point that he's not very well, thank you. He's not very well liked, but I think for advertising the series in that way to make it seem like, okay, here's the protagonist and you're not gonna like him. I actually think they could have gone on longer with that. I mean, I felt a little bit of a connection to his character, but at the same time, it felt, I mean, I guess I could use this word to describe the entire series, is a bit of an emotional tease. So, I mean, you kind of get little glimpses into what you think they're about, and yes, there's drama, there's action, but right at some point, when you feel that something really important is going to happen, like take, for example, the main girl, Emmy, who crash lands on him and, spoiler alert, kills him with
It's not really a
mech.
spoiler, kind of. Spoiler of the first episode, I guess.
Right. But anyways, so she kills him and brings him back, and he finds out she's from another planet. And right when they're about to go into this really serious...
Not another planet.
Oh.
It's another dimension.
Another dimension.
Yeah.
She brings him back to life with her naked body.
Same Earth, different dimension. Anyways, the point is this is just one example of they will try to develop some sort of a relationship, try to develop some sort of drama, try to develop some sort of communication, and right when you think they're gonna do it, boobs appear. Just that.
Oh, and nipples.
Oh yes, nipples.
Yeah.
That's how it happened. I felt like that for the whole series. It happened to me at least 3 times, where I felt like I was gonna get somewhere with the characters, like they were gonna explore some sort of meaning of feeling, and then just boobs.
All right, so it's funny because I actually like the series. Yeah, I know. I actually like it. Okay, the funny thing is that it's to me, I thought it was interesting because imagine if you and I or anybody here in this room got the powers that he did all of a sudden. Imagine you had lived this life where you were a nobody for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, your friend would always step in for you. You were, especially if you were a guy and you were kind of raised to be like, you should be able to take care of your own. And he wasn't able to do that. And suddenly you had all this power. It's not even just a little bit of power. It's not something that you worked for where you worked out or you learned some kind of martial arts. But suddenly you had this infinite kind of power with this mech, this toy in a sense, to shape the world as you want. I mean, what would you do? I mean, this character, I think, is actually very realistic in the sense of he got kind of drunk with power. Like, he didn't know what to do with it. So I thought it was actually a very good look at real people. And that's what I enjoyed about the anime, is that basically you see him kind of go through the stage of, like, kind of a pendulum swing where he's kind of, like, doesn't know what to do with power, and then he gets thrown on his ass, basically, and the mech gets taken away from him, and he just has to go through this, like, well, then I don't need it. But then that's not what it's about, you know? And then he finds out from his friend dying, and his friend's last words, that it's not about that. It's not about the power. It's about you and what you want to do with your life. And I think it's a great kind of setup. I think it's great that he was not likable in the beginning. I think I was reading some of the reviews to see what people thought about it, and I found that a lot of people gave up on it really early. They were like, the character's unlikable, and then it ended. But the thing is that if you
point.
Yeah, and if you get beyond like episode 5 or 6, he starts to become likable. I mean, you start seeing this relationship develop between everybody. I think that's what I appreciate about this anime, is that they take the time to develop everybody. It's not just like the 3 top main characters and then everybody else is eye candy or whatever. I mean, even the girls, the guys, everybody. I mean, you know, even the CEO cracks me up, because he's the guy who's extremely serious. I think he's a pivotal point in the story, but he's always the guy, the ecchi guy, you know, the one that's always doing the hentai things. He's always giving the main character Koichi like something to get him in trouble with, you know, whether it be a key card to a girl's room and saying, "This is your dormitory," and then he goes in and she's naked and you're like, "What?" You know, but you know, granted, it's a lot of fan service. There's a lot of boobies. I won't lie, lots of butt shots, and there's a lot of shots of like you're gonna see everything, and then there's like a comedic moment. I won't lie to you, there's a lot of that. And the only problem, if I did have a problem, is the animation didn't always mesh. I think the 3 different types of animation didn't mesh, and the character scrigglies kind of, and they would disappear sometimes.
Yeah,
that was the funny
right.
thing, is that it would come and go.
It wasn't blush.
It wasn't, no.
Blushing, but it was like,
And that was like the only thing I had a problem with, but everything else,
like,
I
we're
really
not done
liked.
with these sketches.
Yeah.
But here, take them.
But here, take them. Yeah.
The mechs are ready. The sketches gotta go.
And I liked the concept of the mechs. I think they were really well thought out. Some of them were long-range mechs. Some of them were close-range fighters. Some of them were, you know, protectors. You know, and I think, you know, the whole backstory's kind of cool. They don't really hit you in the head with it, so I like that. They kind of introduce it, and I love the cliffhanger type of endings that they kept doing. It was very much like, I don't know if you're into Lost and stuff like that, but the whole J.J. Abrams, he always ends on like everything's fine, and then dun dun dun, you know, and I liked that. It was kind of edgy and always keeping you on your feet. So would you recommend this anime?
I would say I would recommend it if you love Gundams, if you love mech animes. The mechs are really cool looking. I personally could not care less about mechs. Another great mech anime that is it's like a mech anime but not an obvious mech anime is Escaflowne. I love Escaflowne. I would much rather watch that than this, but it was entertaining at times, and it wasn't awful or horrible. It was just so contrived and stereotypical.
For me, this show had a little bit too much of a, I guess, a conflict between what came out looking good and what came out looking kind of funny, like animation-wise. Like, you know, you'd have the beautiful mech animation, the beautiful battles, and then the kind of sketchy-looking stuff again.
With no detail. But that's his style, if you watch Stride, but it's just, yeah.
If you watch Gundam, too, Gundam C tends to be very simple in its animation.
And also
so
with, like, again, what I was saying, with, like, the
design.
emotional connection, it's kind of like, it goes really, really heavy on the drama, but then at the same time it tries to be comedy, and it kind of like, it left me feeling in a bit of a funny place on that. But overall, I think it is a well-presented show for what it is, and it's definitely worth taking a look. Personally, not really my cup of tea. It's got a little too much boobage in it for me. But I could definitely get past it enough to recommend giving it a shot.
And Tracy, what about yourself?
The music, like the ending theme, I loved.
Oh my god, the opening theme needed to be changed.
I was not a fan of the opening.
Right away, because I felt like
be
they were all like, they had changed it in the studio with like Pro Tools or something, because they couldn't hit the high notes.
You know, an interesting thing about that is, since we went on to the Code Geass thing, Ali Project also did, I believe they did the opening to Code Geass.
Interesting.
So,
well, they're very huge in the anime, you know, anime singing industry, which is completely different from the mainstream singing industry, and it's completely different from the indie scene too. It's got its own fan base, and if you can get in on one song, it's like that's all you need, and then a routine. Always have a routine when you're singing. But you know, I found the music to be interesting in the show, because they had this weird like soprano sax, like alto sax sound the entire time, you know, and it was like they were trying to get like a full orchestra thing going on, but you could tell that it was like someone's playing the piano and faking it as a saxophone or something. And it was, that, you know, granted, it's like it was very small. Minuscule, I think, in that respect. But you like the ending theme, though?
Yeah, yes. The
Which
ending
one?
Theme.
There's a couple.
The first one.
Okay.
The first one I loved, and I'm like, I was watching it, I was like, oh, I want to learn this. I want to sing this, you know. So yeah, so I always want to mention the music, because that's always such a huge part for me. But but yeah, overall, I liked it. I would say, you know, if you like mechs, if you like there's a little bit of love in there, a little bit of, you know. I mean, there's a little bit in there for the girls, for the romantic girls. Yeah. But I think it's worth watching. I definitely do.
All right, so I personally definitely think you should watch it, at least past the first 2 episodes. I think the first 2 are the hardest to get through, and most of the reviewers in the United States, I think, never got past the first 2, and because they keep just harking on the fact that he's an unlikable character, and he's really unlikable in the first 2. But there's a reason behind it, I think. So if you can get past it, you'll really, really like it. Definitely check it out. Some of us are a little on the fence, but if you do want to check it out legally, online, you can always check it out at Funimation because they have a ton of animes there. So please do support anime. We all do here. We all love it. And dude, you can watch it for free. You just have to go through some commercials. And that's about it. I think that's unusual for us, but we're gonna get it back to you guys. AnimeTV.
Well, that's it for this episode, and I want to thank you for letting me be here even though I'm a guy.
You know how you can repay me?
How?
By letting me be here next week on our all boys episode.
Of course. Deal.
Deal. Next week, the guys are going to check out Reem, Daughters of Nimasani.
Yes, and write to us on our forums. We want to hear your thoughts and your reviews. And fan us on Facebook.
And follow us on Twitter.
I'm Jonathan Messa.
I'm Christina V.
AnimeTV, go! Goodness. Well, let's see what happens in this 26 animation. Oh, episode is what I wanted. Episode. Look at my stomach. I'm Jonathan Messa.
I'm Christina V.
AnimeTV, Hadouken!
So close.
Dang.
No.
Bang Zoom.